Welcome to Courtney on Health, heard on MalcolmPresents.com and many other venues, including the Many Shades of Green. Anyway, welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Courtney. Hi, Malcolm. And welcome. Do the intro to Courtney on Health.
It's your intro.
I'm doing the intro. The same intro that we always say we would like to drop in and just not have.
Yeah, it's not official until you go.
Sure. Welcome to Courtney on Health. It's not official. Courtney on Health, a Zoom cast, and also now a podcast. I mean, It's on Spotify. Which one is this? Spotify, right?
Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Okay, great. We'll have to keep getting more info out on that. And it's about how to get through these lingering COVID times with tips on nutrition and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian with a Master of Science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York metro area and beyond, and will help guide you on a path to wellness and health. And we need to be well and healthy now. So the poem, it was a long one. It's called Onions. It looks longer than it is, but I cut a lot of it out. It's by William Matthews, and it goes into the subject of the topic. So let me do this and then we'll get going. Onions. How easily happiness begins by dicing onions. A lump of sweet butter slithers and swirls across the floor of the saute pan, especially if its errant path crosses a tiny slick of olive oil. Then a tumble of onions. This could mean soup or risotto or chutney. Slowly the onions go limp and then nacreous. Oh man, wow. And then what cookbooks call clear. It's true, it can make you weep to peel them, to unfurl and to tease. From the taut ball, first the brittle, caramel colored and decrepit papery outside layer. Well, there's nothing to an onion but skin. And it's true you can go on weeping as you go in through the moist middle skins. This is the best domestic perfume. It's there when you clean up and rinse the wine glasses and make a joke. And you leave the minutest whiff of it on the light switch later when you climb the stairs. Onions, a staple in your pantry along with garlic, potatoes, spices, herbs, pasta, beans, and more. Keeping your pantry well stacked with healthy foods is an important factor in eating well. What foods keep the best, freeze the best, and stay fresher in the fridge, and for how long? Today, Courtney will give us terrific info on the best way to stock your pantry with healthful foods and why it is important to take stock of what's in your pantry and fridge and freezer, especially this season. So Courtney, let's get rolling here. Why do we have to have a well-stocked kitchen pantry? Why?
Yeah,
I ask why.
So many reasons. Speed, like getting healthier foods on your table faster. We know that if you don't have a well-stocked fridge, freezer, pantry, you are more likely to, one of the following, pick up a phone and order in, maybe something healthy, but in all likelihood, probably not so much, which is also usually more expensive. Or that box of crackers that's sitting in your pantry, which is the only lonely item in there, might end up being dinner. So it prepares you, or at least creates an environment where you've got a better chance of getting something healthier on the table. It also saves you money. Saves you money because if you're out doing your regular shopping and you have and then this is just these are some of my favorites. You may have some of your favorites that you stock your fridge and pantry with. But if you're shopping and you see your favorites on sale, and a lot of times these items are on sale, you can buy them for far less money than if you are, oh gosh, I want to make fill in the blank. I want to make my meatloaf tonight or my pasta dish, and you have to buy everything sort of on the fly, you're more than likely going to spend more money for those items. So those are the two top reasons, but people have their own reasons why they like to keep it stocked as well. Some people are foodies and they really love the ability to have all different, things available to them. So I break it into dry foods and sort of true pantry items. So those things that have a really long shelf life, for the most part, refrigerator, pantry items, although obviously that's not, dry goods necessarily, and then make use of that freezer. And for those of you who really are not freezer people, and I think there are some folks who really just, it's where foods go to die for them. It's just not something that they're used to, and that's okay, right? But for those of you who are open to it, it really is a great way to keep a lot of foods, particularly protein foods, on hand at the ready, so you can get some healthy, quick meals on the table for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So pantry items, and you may have some favorites, and I actually mentioned a couple of them already. Dried spices, certainly. And a word about those. I use, based on the size, you might be able to tell, I use a lot of cumin and chili powder in this house. So I go big. And I get this usually at Costco. And this makes sense for me. If you use cumin once every 2 years, this ends up being a waste of money. And you got to check those dates. Even though they're a pantry item, they can't live there endlessly. Spices in particular, you got to check those dates. So if there's one that's been sitting in there, then you haven't touched in years, even if there isn't an expiration date on it, and many do now, but even if there isn't, it's probably time to give it a refresh, throw it out. So buy what you need, okay, and use what you have.
How long would a spice typically last? I mean, even with an expiration date, sometimes you can go past that, but I thought spices stay longer somehow.
They definitely do. They can go, I think some of them can go a couple of years. The true foodies will tell you, I think I've read some, a year, which, to me seems a little, you're not going to get sick from it, but it might just not have that great flavor. So you can still use your, let's say, dried rosemary leaves that have been sitting in there, but you might not have that wonderful woodsy flavor to it that you'd get for something that's a little bit fresher. So is it going to kill you? No. Will it taste as good as it should? Probably not, but it's probably safe to, to certainly eat them. But check the date, and I agree with you. You could probably go a couple of months past what's sitting on there, but crush it in your hand. It's a great, most dried herbs, some of you know, should be crushed before you use them anyway. If you crush it and you don't get a nice sort of whiff of that particular herb, then it might be time to put that one out to pasture. And spices should have, a nice good aroma to them. So, again, buy the sizes that you need. For a quick side note on, and I think it's a great way to sort of make your own, save some money and reduce the sodium in your diet, make your own chili powder. I know a lot of people buy sort of the packaged chili seasoning, taco seasoning in a grocery store. It's fine. I get that that's, easy, but it tends to be loaded with a lot of preservative, a lot of sodium. You can make your own when you have a little bit of time on a weekend. Get a Ziploc bag, put your cumin, your chili powder, your cayenne, your coriander in a Ziploc, and whatever your favorite blend is, make a bunch, put it in an airtight container, and you've got your own version of a far fresher, less expensive, lower sodium version of taco seasoning ready to go. So great pantry item if you like that kind of, sort of that Mexican, Latin-based cuisine, which is great. So pastas, grains, rices, oatmeal. So a word about grains. You have to, again, many things can stay in your pantry for a long time. You got to check them though. Pastas can stay, dry pasta I'm talking about, and obviously not fresh pasta. Dry pasta can stay for a very, very long time. Pasta doesn't last years in my house. It goes pretty quickly. So, but if it has been sitting in there, you do want to check occasionally for like pantry flies and things that make their way in and little bugs. I know that sounds gross. I'm sorry if you're eating, but you got to check them. Same thing with rice. Buy what you need, eat what you buy. If you don't go through that much rice, buying a 15-pound bag of rice is probably not the best idea. Buy smaller and rotate your stock. Okay, stores do it or should be doing it. You should be doing that in your home as well. You're going to pull what's already in there to the front, and what you buy new goes to the back, so that you're constantly rotating so things don't expire and you're using the best of what's available in there. So yeah. Dried beans, canned beans, either one are fine. Canned beans, you guys have heard me talk about this a gazillion times. Just for their convenience factor, they're amazing. Don't be afraid to buy store brands. Look at the ingredient list, look at the sodium content, and many times you can save yourself some money. This happens to be, I'm a big fan now of the Good and Gather. It's the new, relatively new Target line of products, and some of their products are actually very highly rated. So take a look at them. Canned beans, dried beans, fantastic, fantastic pantry item.
Aren't many of the store brands actually private labeled? They're not really manufactured by the store, but they buy the lots from other well-known manufacturers and put their own label on.
You're right. In many cases, you're absolutely right. So it could be the exact same product, just with a different, label on it.
Yeah.
So
Is
buy
there
what's,
a way of finding out? I was curious.
I actually think so. If I'm just throwing out a name, if you like the XYZ brand and you're curious to see if it's actually somebody else's, I bet you I hate to say this because everybody does. I bet you if you Google it.
Google it. Yeah, Google it. Google those beans. Yeah.
Chicken stocks, vegetable stock, if you don't do any meat products, if you're a vegetarian. Again, they don't live in there endlessly, but these, the sort of the Tetra Pak are a great, first of all, they store easily because they can be flat packed. But they're great to have on hand for a variety of soups and stews and broths, and if you're making a meal that needs some moisture to it, cooking rices, it's a fabulous thing to keep on hand. We're still working on the pantry here. Now, for a long time, when I was talking to clients about, and this just happens to be Parmalat, but there are a lot of other brands out there, the boxed milk, it really sort of rocked their world, because it was like, is it real? It seems weird. It was in Europe decades before it was in the United States. It's totally fine. It is ultra high pasteurized. So that's how they're able to get away with keeping it at room temp until it's opened. Once opened, it needs to go in the fridge. Great item. It's totally fine. Does it taste like fresh milk? Nope, but it's a great second. And you know what? And occasionally I do space, and I'm like, I thought I had an extra gallon of milk downstairs, but somehow I don't. It's a great thing to have. You lose your power and you don't have a generator, and it's a great thing to keep, available to you. So
that's a thing.
What's that?
I'm sorry, the losing power. I was going to ask you that question because right now here in the Northeast, we get just storms like every few days now, and they go, you can lose power and blah, blah, blah. And, have this and this on hand, and stuff in your freezer and your fridge, which you didn't go into yet. You got to be careful depending on how long you're out, when that spoils, when, how quick can you use it, and how quick can you lose it? So,
right. Do you want me to answer that now? You want me to wait till we get to freezers and fridges?
Whatever your call.
Freezer, you're going to have, if you think about it, it becomes sort of a not so mobile ice box. So the more packed your freezer is, the better it will be, because it will serve as an ice box. You got a longer window there. You only have 4, they say, like, really, it's like roughly like 4 to, up to 6 hours without power in your refrigerator. And once again, that depends on, in the case of how stuffed your refrigerator is, being stuffed is not your friend, because everything is going to get warmer faster. Remember, everything in the freezer is like a bunch of ice blocks, not the case in your refrigerator. So I know this is a cliche, but when in doubt, throw it out, make use of your ice chests that you have and ice packs if you have them. If there's anything questionable in your refrigerator that you're really trying to keep from destroying, or chuck it in your freezer. Don't keep opening and closing the freezer and fridge, right? You want to keep those closed as much as possible.
You know, I just thought, and I don't know why, well, because it doesn't affect me out here in California, but how about packing things in dry ice, putting them like in an ice chest and putting dry ice? That would last longer, wouldn't it? If you were afraid of a power outage?
Oh, absolutely. If you can get it. I remember when we were out, I know I'm digressing here. When we were out for a power for a really long time, a couple of years ago, and they were actually giving out dry ice at local community centers and things to help folks out. Grocery stores were taking frozen foods and refrigerator items. It was really actually a nice community signal that to help support everybody. But you're right, Malcolm, that if you have access to it, that would certainly be the way to go. Just be careful, know what you're doing, burn your hands. So
Don't hold it.
yes, don't go, choose a professional to help you.
Well, I think Max would relate to that, but I remember going on the beach.
Right, cold soda, hot knishes.
With the good humor people throwing the dry ice, and like you would build a little hole and you put the water and then you put the dry ice and it would smoke up like a volcano.
Yeah,
Very
but
fun.
they used to have dry ice too, when the guys were selling the cold soda and the hot. They had two bags, and one bag would be the cold soda with dry ice, and the other bag would be, knishes in tin foil. But you usually get lukewarm both. So,
There you go. Yeah.
so
I
anyway,
used to do dry ice going on camping trips.
right. Well,
Yep.
that makes
Yep.
sense.
Anyway, sorry to
All right,
digress.
sorry.
That's okay.
We
It's all good.
digress.
Well, you're giving me great ideas for topics for the future, so we can do a whole camping episode. So, but anyway, so tomato products, especially in the winter when most fresh tomatoes that we get are somewhat anemic, having things like, and I happen to really love this Cento brand, tomato paste, good tomatoes, that flavor in food is a nice way to get a fresh burst of nice tomato flavor in the absence of having great fresh summertime tomatoes. Diced tomatoes, canned tomatoes, stay a long time, keep them in your pantry. You will use them for something, either your own sauce, or you can, make them into, like I said, stews, soups, chilies, taco meat, all different things, all different dishes to have around. It's fine. I call it cheater sauce because I typically make my own pasta sauce. So years ago, my friend coined some of the jarred tomatoes cheater sauce. I love keeping this around. I have a couple of favorite brands. Rouse is one of them, but I really like Victoria for the price. You can catch these on sale, and they really become an economical way to keep some stuff on hand, because if all else fails, you have one of your pastas, you've got a good jar of cheater sauce, and you could do far worse. Nice, maybe hopefully some veg, and you're good to go. Of course, things like nuts, peanuts, olive oil, peanut butters, nut butters. You do want to watch anything that has oil in it, as it can go rancid. So just pay attention to how long you have, buy the right size for what you need. Vinegars of all different varieties make for great, just a different flavor, to have available to you. So these are just two. They're from Arlata, and this is just white balsamic vinegar. Buy what's within your budget, and they're plain old white vinegar that you can get by the gallons and inexpensive. It's fine for certain total cooking. I use it a lot for, sort of a mild, when I don't need a great robust flavor. But I gotta be honest with you, I also use it. It's great when you clean it as a cleaning item in your house. That's sort of, non-abrasive and a more natural option. So this happens to be apple cider vinegar. Once again, if you look for it, sometimes you'll get this on sale because it tends to be a little bit more pricey than maybe some of the other.
Courtney, how about red wine vinegar, which I like?
Yeah, sure. Although the vinegar is really just derived from, and we could do a whole vinegar episode, like the region where you are, like, you know what I mean? So they probably don't have as much apple cider vinegar in, maybe Europe, because apples aren't their thing, but we have that here. So they're all fine. Again, just I think a variety of them to use, and they really will not go bad. So they're wonderful to have on hand. Canned tuna.
I like rice wine vinegar because it's a little, my
Yeah.
husband, it's milder. He's not, he doesn't like that vinegary, I love it.
Yeah, oh
but
no,
I
rice
found
pie is
that
a great one.
I
You
was
know, a
able to get
variety
away.
of that.
Yeah,
And again, you'll see every once in a while, you'll find rice vinegar on sale. You can go to a really good Asian market and they will typically have a good variety. So whatever suits your palate and whatever you like, have them on hand. Canned tuna, you guys have heard me talk about, you can make a really quick, one of my favorite quick pasta dishes is, honestly, it is with cheddar sauce, fresh parsley, capers, which is another pantry item I would recommend, canned tuna fish and it's great. Protein, pasta, I mean, so it's all good. This brand of canned chicken, which I know people crinkle their nose, it's like, ew, canned chicken. But let me tell you, if you're in a pinch and you have no other protein options available to you and you eat chicken, this particular brand, Valley Fresh, it's just chicken, salt, that's it. So it's, again, it's not as fresh as, fresh chicken, but it's a good in the pinch. Some of my, I call them sort of pantry extras that I like, that are great to have on hand, sun-dried tomatoes. So these are the ones not packed in oil. They literally can be, in your pantry until you need them. You're going to want to put a little olive oil on them and leave it there for several hours to soften them, to use them. But again, that wonderful tomato flavor in a season where you might not have fresh tomatoes is a great way to, vary the types of foods that you might be eating. Capers are another one. This I have, they're mild diced chilies. So again, this might sound like a weird pantry one, but if you happen to like foods with heat and you're trying to get something on the table super fast, these add that wonderful sort of smoky flavor to it without you doing the work. So you buy them. I actually just picked these up on sale over the last couple of days. Store them in your pantry. You're getting ready to eat, get your meal prep, and you add these to, I typically add them to either my taco meat or my chili. And whether you do vegan or meat-based, they're a wonderful option because it's vegan.
Courtney,
yeah.
What some people ask, what are capers?
They're from the
Can you
caper
describe
berries.
them?
Oh, you mean how they taste?
What are they derived from? And how do
They're
they
caper
taste?
berries, so I think they're technically a vegetable.
Okay.
And they have a very almost a briny, salty flavor to them. So you would want to pull back on, just don't add too much. Rinse them first and then watch how much salt you're adding because you might overdo it. I love them. But again, that's me. People might not like that sort of briny flavor to them, and in which case, leave them out. But I think they add wonderful flavor. What's that?
I like it, but some people I remember friends somehow thought that they were like anchovies, like kind of like an anchovy.
Oh.
They thought it was a fishy thing, and I'm like,
oh no,
people
no.
like some people think it's like a fishy thing, and it's not. So it is.
Yeah, no, they're great. I mean, you can make a fabulous sort of, if you eat fish, like sort of a butter caper herb sauce for fish, and it's wonderful. So a couple of more like extras, I call them. I use fire roast. I know we mentioned canned tomatoes, diced tomatoes, and tomato paste. I use fire roasted diced tomatoes to make short work of anything, again, with that sort of, cumin based. You could certainly do it yourself, but this takes out a lot of the steps in it. I know we've mentioned sodium before in our previous episodes. Because there's sodium in here, I do dial back how much I add. So whenever there's anything done for you, you just want to make sure that you've adjusted for that in your recipe. Are you guys familiar with nutritional yeast?
Not this guy.
So, it's a pantry extra. It might not be for everybody. It is an option for meat eaters and vegans alike. And it's it's yeast, but it happens to have a goodly amount of B vitamins in it and protein for what it is. And what I use this for is sort of that little extra something. Maybe you put your toasting piece of bread and a little olive oil on it. You sprinkle a little bit of this on it, and it gives it that wonderful umami kind of punch to it. You can put it on pasta. It's great on roasted veggies. So again, it's not for everybody, but it's kind of a nice pantry item to keep on hand in case you're trying to diversify things a bit. And lastly, for our dried fruits. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but we did cover a lot of different, things in here before we go on to great things you can keep in the fridge.
Yeah, Courtney, one thing you've never mentioned, which I have, the chili sauce, sriracha, the Chinese. I love that almost on anything.
Oh, yeah.
Sriracha,
That's a great
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
I have to check. I think once it's open, though, I believe it
You have
has
to
to go in the
refrigerate it.
refrigerator. But I
Mhm.
have to
I
check
put it in the
actually.
refrigerator.
But yeah, I'm with you. I like the spicier the better for me.
but
I forgot to mention garlic, onions, flour. These are all great pantry items as well. So I'm doing the speed version here to get through everything. Carrots, your root vegetables. Think about things that will last longer in your refrigerator that you don't have to worry about spoiling right away. So when it comes to carrots, you're going to want, I'm a big fan of baby carrots. I think they're wonderful, but remember they've had some processing done to them. So they're not going to last as long in your refrigerator as if you buy either the carrots, obviously with the green on, or the whole carrots. These will stay a good long time in your vegetable crisper. Again, not forever, but they will last there a good long time. Celery, lemons. Lemons are a great way to impart that very fresh, lively flavor. The zest is wonderful. Lemon juice. So if you have that on hand, making a quick sauce or a quick pasta with even just some lemon zest and olive oil and a little grated cheese is a fast meal in a pinch. We've spoken about eggs before. Again, if you eat eggs, they will stay, and they'll even stay longer than the expiration date that's on that carton. We should really do a whole one about expiration dates, but don't feel like if the date says, January, 11th, that you need to, throw it out on January 12th. You got a little bit of time.
So my husband's birthday, January 11th. I didn't throw him out.
Do eggs stay longer?
Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Of all the dates to pick, right? So okay.
Do eggs stay longer if they're hard boiled?
Yeah, so I've actually told that to some of my clients. I said, if it's coming up on the expiration date, take them out of the fridge, hard boil them. Again, they can't go in your fridge forever, but you just bought yourself more time. So it's a great way to reduce waste. And then of course, those can be used in things like egg salads for sandwiches or, Cobb salads, things like that. So yes, Malcolm, it's a great way to give yourself a little bit more time. Yogurts will last a decent amount of time again, but nice things to have on hand to either eat on their own or to bake with, or to create sauces with. Plain yogurt is a great option to keep available to you. I have on my tray here, as we sort of leap over into the freezer, great way. I like things that save time in the kitchen. And some of my favorite things, don't be afraid of frozen vegetables, particularly during the winter. We've talked about this before. I know they don't taste exactly the same, but from a nutrition perspective, they really are a great way to keep your veg intake up during a season where we might not be getting it freshest. And for people on a budget, it's a great way to actually keep your veg up without breaking the bank. I happen to love this. It's the pepper stir fry. So it's just onions and different peppers already sliced up. Talk about a time saver. Trader Joe's has a brand of this too. You can buy a store brand of it. If you're trying to make fajitas, you've just cut off about 15 minutes off of your time simply by not having to cut up the onions, the peppers yourself. So again, you can do that and then freeze them, but this really is a huge time saver. But other frozen veg, peas, edamame, great. They stay in the freezer. You'll see anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending how something is wrapped. So you want to wrap things carefully and make sure that they're not exposed to that very cold air that's in there. Otherwise, you might get some freezer burn in there. I keep chicken breasts, tofu blocks in my freezer. So that I posted last week or a couple of weeks ago, a fantastic chicken soup it was half homemade chicken broth that I had, half some of the pantry chicken stock that I had, carrots, onions, garlic, celery, and I put a couple of chicken breasts in there, took them out after a while and shredded them up. I threw my Reggiano rind in there. You guys know I do that all the time. It's my secret trick. And it was some of the best chicken soup I had had. And it was all from stuff that I had on hand in my home. And it truly was a dinner that was ready, in under 45 minutes. So, by making use of these items, you really can get into the habit of, choosing them. I mean, you don't have to be a gourmet cook. You could be the most basic cook out there. And these pantry items, fridge items, freezer items will absolutely save you some money. They'll save you some time. And I promise you that the food will taste great if you just experiment a little bit with some of these maybe, left of center herbs and spices and vinegars and things that you might have.
Hey guys, I hate to tell you this, but our time is up as usual.
I was just blabbing away.
And from here, I go directly to my kitchen and
eat
food. You make me hungry.
Yeah, every time you do, that's what Malcolm says. He said his favorite pantry items are rice, pasta, and Haagen-Dazs. That's what he said before.
I mean, if I was like with you guys and I'd be frozen in and couldn't go out, I'd have my Haagen-Dazs and a nice bottle of red wine.
Well, wine, I was going to joke and say wine would be on my sort of, my wish list.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing with the wine is you could store it in the last years.
Yeah, one thing about wine is, you can, as long as it's not open, but then you don't want it, certain wines can go bad. So I guess it's also the cold duck, you don't never know what's going to happen with it.
It depends how you store it. Because what they say is you're supposed to drink wine at room temperature, but what I've always heard, room temperature at that time was like in Kessel, so it's like 60 degrees. It's not like it's not like 80, 90 degrees. You can't store it.
Right. Well, we'll have to
Anyway,
go visit
guys,
some castles. We'll go castle hopping. Okay.
We need your outro, Max.
I'm doing it now. Thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, which is Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and visit her website, CourtneyGravenese.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and TheManyShadesOfGreen.com. Courtney on Health, smart, sound, nutrition, strong, safe fitness. We'll catch you next time.
And I just want to add, we're on Spotify and Apple
Podcast, yeah.
Apple Podcasts and Many Shades of Green. But if you want to see the Zoom and the pictures, it's MalcolmPresents.com. So you can listen to us and see us.
Right. And if you're in the Northeast and anywhere cold, stay warm because it's
Stay warm.
Yeah, that chicken soup sounds good, Courtney.
Right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Take care. Have a good one.